Hey guys, welcome back to the 1v1 podcast. I am your host, Vladis, and today I have with me a very special guest. He is part of the guild Vice in Ashes of Creation. He goes by the name of Tango. What is going on, brother? How you doing?
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for first of all reacting to my video. I actually did check it out. I saw a lot of what you said, and we have very differing opinions on how Ashes should just in game principles, philosophy. I mean, I think we just have bipolar opposite views, probably on certain things. Maybe some things we may agree on, but I love talking to people and that disagree with me or may not see what I see, because, you know, coming down to the kind of player we are, right? It's, you know, what we kind of want out of a game, because I think the MMO landscape currently is looking pretty bleak.
I mean, so it also comes to your perspective of, you know, a player's skill level, or, like, for example, somebody who, for me, who doesn't play more than 6 to 8 hours a day would be a casual. Like, they don't even have time, in my opinion, to do like bench work, like just simple processing, to even make a single weapon. That takes multiple hours of processing, gathering, and just accumulating the resources. So, like, from my perspective, somebody who is not casual would have to play at least like 10 hours a day to even keep up with anybody who considers themselves, you know, quote unquote hardcore. But there are people who will play 10 hours, but they don't min max the 10 hours, right? They'll like cut down every oak tree they see, and that's very inefficient. So it also depends on what the player knows and knowledge and what they do.
I, I
So
I think, you know, certain people love min maxing, others just enjoy whatever they want to do for their play session, right? So, like, from your perspective, are you trying to come at Ashes in a very hardcore min maxy kind of way? Or, like, what are you personally trying to get out of Ashes of Creation? I mean, right now it's all testing. There's such limited scope right now as to what we can actually do in the Alpha 2. But, like, I'm thinking big picture here. Like, what are your ambitions? What are your things that you're wanting from Ashes of Creation, like as a player?
uh I'd say right now the biggest thing in Ashes in most games that are MMOs, that goes from like Rust, Arc, WoW, like pretty much every MMO is econ. In Ashes right now, this phase, they finally have made a pretty good foundation for econ, for crafting. It's a pretty good step in the right direction from what it was when I started in late phase two. Um,
What did you,
Late phase two was I hated crafting in late phase two.
why?
It was just camp. Uh, 4 or 5 days of certain static Lego nodes, and then you had very minimum choices of gear sets. Everybody pretty much needed this item or this boss farm, and that was it. Um,
Yeah, we definitely did have limited recipes when it came to like phase two. I think right now in this current phase we have all they added a shit ton, like I would say probably thousands. They need probably thousands more currently, but like static node rarity I think poses a lot of really ugly issues for players like myself, and this is why I've kind of put Ashes currently on just kind of cruise mode, because I feel the static rarity just kind of killed it for me. And a lot of the people that I talk to in discords, like other big guilds, you know, some people don't really care, they're just trying to get out of the game what they can currently, and then others just stop playing completely. And you see these people, you know, currently saying like, oh, Ashes is so dead, Ashes is so dead. um, and you know, when I go in game, yeah, I see people in the towns. I don't think Ashes is dead. Like, I think it also depends on what time you're playing, but I think there are people playing. You know, I just think that the majority of them have this inkling or this feeling that we're probably either going to get a fresh start server or potentially a wipe. Um, but I don't even think that's going to happen this month, because I think point 17 clearly got delayed. Point 18, which is the Harbingers update, is
yeah.
probably going to be further delayed. So I don't know. And I think there's just so much more needed before we have like a wipe like on our current server. I think there's a lot of adjustments that need to be done economically. But, you know, when I was watching your video and I said how ridiculous it was as far as like mats that you need to create, you know, level 10 or even journeyman level 20 things, you thought it was pretty spot on. Like I'm
Yeah.
curious. I'm curious about that. Like, go ahead and explain that to me.
So I can yeah, so the way I look at it is most games I've played, the people who min max and grind the most efficient way pretty much like grind whatever the best money is currently and then procure what they need with that money. Um sorry.
You're good.
So uh I'm sorry. I lost train of thought. Um
We were talking about how most players like procure money, like when it comes to the economy and everything like that.
uh yeah, so you want to essentially what I did was just farm the best gold at the time and use that to get ahead in the market. And the reason I think it's a good amount of materials for the level 10 stuff is because like people who are solo or just not as efficient at farming and making gold, they're gonna not be at the same pace. They're going to be 2 or 3, 4 or 5 steps behind, and that gives us a market gap. So with that market gap, because of prices of processing and everything else, leveling crafters, animal husbandry is so expensive, mounts are expensive, everything's expensive. So to run an empire, you need gold, and you have to get ahead of all the peasants, like the casuals. And the only way to stay ahead of the casuals is if there is a stepping stone that you think is hard, but for us it's like easy. It's just a little more work. So we just do the extra work and we make the extra ton of gold, and we only have a short window because people who do play a little bit more or a little bit less, whatever, they will catch up in just a few days behind us. So, like, say, for example, level 10 weapons, we're selling those at whatever we set the market to because we're the first ones there. So we make the biggest profit. But then in 2 days, when the next crafter catches up, he's now trying to undercut us and make profit himself. And that's, messing with our market now. And by that time, we're hoping that we're in a new market and keep profiting to stay ahead. And if you're not RMTing, that's like it was very difficult to keep ahead of the RMTers. And we were, week one, we were already up to like 80 plus gold a day and just processing materials. And then that was a daily thing. And then week three, we were over 200, 300 gold a day. So like we had to continuously be ahead of the market and pretty much just different aspects to make gold. And if you and everyone else was able to keep up with me, on a even pace, where would I make that gold?
But do you
See what I'm
think,
saying?
no, I totally get what you're saying. I think when it comes to how a level 10 piece should be, I think the kind of people or the kind of gold that people want to make is kind of absurd. And again, I know we're trying to have an end game, quote unquote, in an alpha because we only have access to level, 25. So right now, technically, journeyman is kind of like end game pieces people are trying to craft, like tier 3 journeyman pieces. But I think right now that's kind of all going to just be gone anyway. Like once we have access to master and then grandmaster, and this is sort of like my kind of point is we shouldn't as players be generating literal like 40 gold, 20 gold a day at level 10. Like it's kind of like in like vanilla WoW, like stuff that you could make or whatever and sell in the auction house, you were selling for maybe like a gold, like at the most, if it was like a rare piece, like a level 17 rare piece. But for the
Right.
most part, no one has that money, unless of course you're going to go to some website and buy it. But, I'm talking more, this is more like 2005, 2006, like when I was playing, like way back when, right? This is also kind of anecdotal too, because back then we were all kind of dumb as gamers, right? We we didn't have like the kind of resources and websites we can go to like Wowhead or Icy Veins, or watch YouTubers that have all this vast amount of information at their disposal. We didn't have any of that. But
Right, there wasn't that much min-maxing going on, you know?
I think there was, but not to the degree of War 2025, right? Like right now, I think people are way more mid-maxi brained as far as gamers, because if I am a dad, why, like some people have the idea of like, why do I want to waste my time? Like I only have 2 hours to play. I'm going to make the most out of this 2 hours I possibly can. So I'm going to watch like YouTube videos on my lunch break. I'm going to watch, where I'm going to go to these websites to read up on like what's like the best or optimal way to level, or what's the best way to make gold, because I don't got time to fuck around. Like if I'm going to go, like I got to put my kids to bed, I got 2 hours to play Ashes. I got to make sure that those 2 hours are best spent playing the game to the utmost level, because maybe that person that is playing casually, I'm talking more time casually, but clearly they want to play the game at a very high end level.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of players in that ballpark, because every person that I know in my guild or whatever all has responsibilities. They have families, they have kids. So they have like this super limited window of time to play Ashes. And some people fuck around in that time, and then others like go hard in that time. Like that window's precious, and some people take that window extraordinarily seriously. So I'm curious, like for you, like how, like, because I know there's a lot of people that hate this kind of Care Bear philosophy and like don't ruin the game or whatever. And I'm curious, like if we were to water down or reduce the quantity of materials required for level 10 or 20, like why does that matter to someone like yourself?
It would just it just makes it easier, an easier point for the casuals to reach. It just lessens the gold to be made at that point. Like the easier it is to obtain, the less it's worth, right? So like the only reason the ring, the quest ring, was worth anything is because we gate kept it. We made it so you could not get the ring. So the only way to get the ring was buy it. So we made the demand for it because there was, we were the supply. So if you make something easily accessible, therefore the price of it will just go down. So that'll just change how we do marketing. It'll just change what we angle ourselves towards. Okay, we need this much gold by this point. uh you know Everybody will probably be able to make this in a day, so it's the window's really short to make gold there, so it's probably not a good
Well,
idea to do it.
so I guess my whole thing is that like once we have like 50 levels to play with, why do we need to have absurd amount of materials for level 10 and 20 when the min-maxers are already going to have like their leveling routes? Like clearly those people aren't going to want to buy level 10 gear potentially, because they're going to fly by level 10 to 20 pretty quickly. Um, so like you're
uh
basically wanting this to be punishing towards players that aren't really going to take it, like use any of those things really. You know what I mean? Like most players that if they're going to fly by, even now, like most of the hardcore min maxers that I know, like whether it's flanker or others, like they go from level 10 to 20 with like super limited, hardly any gear, like almost naked pretty much, and are able
yeah,
to like go through the game.
and I
So
agree with what Flanker said about leveling. It's way too easy. So like, I like, in my opinion, it should take 1 to 10 should take like a very very like EQ time, like EverQuest 1 leveling time. Like
I didn't
each
play
level
EverQuest.
took like each level took like multiple days, and then level 9 took like a week. So it was a literal grind. uh like I think right now I'm hoping that they've squished the XP values down for testing purposes, so everybody excels and does things faster. But for longevity of the game, I hope it takes, like Eve online times. You want to get to a battleship that's at least 6 months. So in this game, you want to get to level 40, it should take at least 6 months. And that's for like flanker or me, like
Yeah.
hardcore min maxers grinding every day,
So,
just for the longevity of the game.
but I mean, do
And
you
that allows
feel
PvP at every point too.
that would? But do you feel like we've kind of evolved as players in 2025 that that's just grind for the sake of grind? Like, I don't know if a lot of players are going to be willing to the most efficient time to play the game and how much time you're going to dedicate to it. Like a flanker or yourself is going to take 6 months to go from level 1 to 40, which 40 is not even the max level. We still have 40 to 50, which
Yeah.
that could probably take another 6 months, right? Because the last
Right.
10 levels or the last 5 levels could actually be exponentially harder. I'm thinking sort of like RuneScape, right? Like RuneScape has some pretty absurd leveling requirements for certain things. And I'm not saying that it can't work in Ashes, but the thing about Ashes that scares me already is that there's so many points of friction and so many points of where a player could potentially be like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this game is for me. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think of like games
Yeah.
like Mortal Online, right?
But
Which
they're
is
about to
pretty hardcore.
so the patch that's coming out, if they do remove statics, right, which is
Yeah, they are.
confirmed
Yep, they
they
are.
have.
Mhm.
So, and if they are lowering rarities of nodes, right? So if you go hit a granite 1,000 times, you might get one Lego. So if they do that, that'll make econ significantly harder.
Oh, yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, why would I get max level before I even have a third of the materials to be able to make one item at max? You see what I mean? So it's like the leveling process has to align with the econ and the materials. So like currently,
I agree with that.
the leveling process is significantly too easy compared to the econ. So like if they do expand it to level 50, and the materials remain the same, and they don't increase the XP by like 500%, like minimum,
Mhm.
we're gonna hit 50 and still be where we are now and not have enough materials, especially after the changes. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying the leveling process should be much longer, and that way people do utilize that level 10 and 20 gear, the lower sets, and they can make that at lower rarities, because if they did change, I don't know what percent, we didn't data mine it, so I don't know what percent they are changing.
It's all going to be scaled off of like artisan gear and your tool. So right now, like if you have a crude tool and no artisan gear, you're primarily just getting commons and uncommons, maybe some rares like sprinkled in. Um,
Right.
and so like and again, that's going to be a whole awesome progression loop that gatherers can now finally have that didn't really fucking exist, because crew tool with no artisan gear, again, because it was static rarity, you just had to be lucky, or
You said a no, right?
yeah, you just had to know where all the Legos were, or all the epics were. And once you did, you were good. Didn't matter what tool you had. And I think that kind of devalued a lot as a gatherer, or someone that really loved, like, cause I love the gathering loop, but I think once static rarity was there, and once people, like, again, the RMT thing, and then there was the overlay, which I got so much flack and so much hate that the overlay didn't exist. Vladis fell for the meme. Lo and
Yeah.
behold, lo and behold, it existed, and it was there the whole time. And it made sense because, I would see some weird things, and I would talk to people in my guild, and I would hear other people talk about weird things of like, going to the tropics, and there'd be like a person that would run to like a specific volcanic like ash, get it, go to another one, and then leave. And not even like run over them or anything like that. They would just know which two to get and then just vamoose. And it just seemed like odd. But I mean, so hopefully with all that being squared away, like static rarity is going to be gone. The overlay is going to be done basically. Cause I'm pretty sure everything in the world is probably common, if I had to guess. Like it is probably still static rarity, but now it's predicated off of the rarity value that you have plus the 2 rolls that you'll get, which we got confirmation on from Roshan or some of the one of the devs or mods gave us confirmation on the role, or I think it was on the patch notes of like how they kind of described when you gather something, there's like a roll, and then there's like a second roll, and that'll determine your overall rarity once you get something. But
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see how they implement that and if it actually works.
yeah, I mean, it was working. I mean, people did confirm like, hey, I saw the same granite node. I got a different rarity than what the original one was. So I mean, that was nice to see. And even the different colored, like you remember the light daffodils were always like uncommon plus. Like
Yeah.
you can still find a light daffodil, but it can be common. Like it's just, again, it's just kind of random at this point, which is good. I think it's a good random because it's predicated, of course, off of like how much base rarity you have. But like, so what's your overall thoughts? Because it seems like when it comes to like leveling, you want it to be you want it to feel like there's longevity here. But like, if it only took you like a hardcore player like a month to reach level 50, why is that bad? Because if you compare that to literally any other MMO currently, where you can literally level from 1 to max within a day, maybe most 2 days or 3, like that, I think that kind of separates Ashes very much so from a lot of the other MMOs, especially MMOs that people are going to play like classic WoW. And people love classic WoW because it feels like a journey again. It doesn't feel like I can just hit max level so instantly.
Well, currently there's not enough game loops. There really
Well,
isn't a game
currently,
loop
of course.
currently.
Yeah.
On
No, I get that.
release though, it depends like how many systems they actually implement. Like they're talking about adding sport fishing. I was gonna ask you about that.
Hmm.
But like right now, there's just not enough to do in game besides PvP, and most PvP we do currently is forced.
Yeah.
We set it all up. It's all, hey, you want to fight? All right, get your 20. We'll bring our 20. And then the people we do war deck, they just cry about it and say we're like BMing and like, like rude, etc. I'm like, this is a PvP game. And then
I,
war deck only lasts for like 2-3 hours. The other guild can just log out. There's so many issues with war decks.
well, what are you wanting from PvP and Ashes of Creation? Because I mean, I think of like EverQuest, I think of like Arcade or Lineage, and a lot of the players really always rave about those PvP interactions. So I'm just curious, like from your point of view, from someone, who clearly loves PvP, clearly loves the design of Ashes, like what are you wanting from PvP and Ashes?
Well, I think that's why they're adding the sport fishing. From what I've heard, it sounds like it is the Archage sports fishing, which was just pure PvP.
Yep.
So that's more incentive to PvP, but what like the fish that these PvEers are catching, are they going to be worth enough to actually go and kill these players? And then if they get killed 3 times, are they just going to log out and never do it again? There has to be enough incentive for people to want to do the sport fishing, and
Right.
also be griefed while doing it. I understand it costs nothing to do it, and then the other thing is the bots. I don't know if you've seen the bots, but they're all over the place.
I,
They're farming glint and emblems, etc.
I've been hearing about them, but I didn't know if they really existed. It was one of the things I haven't seen them myself in game, but people that
Yeah,
have been playing currently have been talking about it. So can you tell me about it? Tell me about the
uh,
bots.
I mean, I've seen them in ROS and Highwaymen, and it's just like 5-6 random characters. It looks like they're all running the same exact skills and literally synchronized like a bot, and they're just farming nonstop. Uh, and I'm wondering, if people are going to do that to do the sport fishing, because
Oh yeah.
apparently, if it works like Arcade, you fish, you get a crate on your back, and then you have to go turn that crate in for the reward. Um,
Well, it's the thing they also talked about, which I found to be odd, but I think this might have to do with maybe the botting situation, is they said in the live stream that you're going to have to actually swim out. Like once the fish is caught, you have to like swim out and get the fish And then once you have the fish, then it goes on your back, and then you kind of run it off like a crate, which I find to be
Okay.
interesting.
I mean, if it's not very difficult and then not too many steps, like my mouse can memorize, I don't know, like some 50 plus keys in one click on my mouse.
Yeah.
So like, and you know, these guys are doing it for like money, a living. So I'm sure they can make a bot to do it. I'm just I'm just I'm just wondering why they're pushing out this sport fishing and they didn't push out like 12 things from like the end of phase 2. I remember they had like a long list of stuff they wanted to get out, and then 2.5 came and they had another long list, and we're like, where's all this stuff at? And now we're getting sport fishing. I don't like, correct me if I'm wrong, but was sport fishing ever on either one of those lists? I don't think it was.
I don't think so.
So why are we getting that now? And then
Well,
I don't
there
go
was a
ahead.
lot from like phase 2 was supposed to actually bring story arcs. It was supposed to bring the Riverland story arc.
Yeah, and I
Um,
was looking forward to that, the lore and all that.
yeah, phase 3 was supposed to bring more story arcs. I think it was like Sand Squall and Tropics or something like that. Like I have to go back and look at it, but it was again a lot of the content that kind of just got pushed and pushed. And people were asking for like dueling, which to me seems. I'm not a developer by any means, but I would think it'd be relatively easy to put like a dueling system in this game. But like to me, it's like, how does that work? Because in this game, you can literally kill anybody if you wanted to. Like, would people be okay if like maybe you get like a special combatant status, right? So it's not you're actually purple, but like when you're in a duel, like you're different. So basically what I mean by that is like if you are super low level and you bow to your opponent because you lost,
Yeah.
um I can kill you, but you're not purple, like you're green technically, so I become corrupted. Like I hope it's something like that. I don't want like if you duel somebody you become a combatant. You know what I'm saying? Because that can get real fucky real quickly, in my opinion. I want there to be like a safety net kind of with that, so people can feel like, hey, I can duel like out here with my guild or whatever. But from your perspective as a PvPer, do you want something like that? Something with like some rails on, or do you want to actually be a combatant so people
Uh,
kill you? Like if you lost a duel like 1 HP, that creates more PvP. Like I don't know. Like I'm curious from your perspective on that.
I don't, the corruption system now is just a placeholder. I hate it. You literally can break a character with it because of the blight.
Oh yeah.
If you just keep corrupting on people, your blight, goes so high, you'll just have zero stats. Like literally just, a grim will kill you, right? So
Mhm.
you can break a character that way. So I automatically don't like that. And then for them to add a whole new system, like a dueling system, we already have caravans. We got war decks, node wars, and sieges. We have lawless and random lawless zones, and then the ocean. I don't think the performance in game currently, especially in sieges and anything 40v40, needs to be addressed before they just keep adding more systems. I think that's anybody who partakes in PvP in a large scale will say that the performance has only been good once this phase, and that was the KT siege. Uh, like the last one at Mira was unplayable for both sides. The other team, they spawned under the ground, the whole
Oh
team.
my god.
So we had like 30% of our team spawn underground. But that was a 6-minute war because of the lag. Like they couldn't even defend it. And that's, so imagine, Dusty Y and other streamers are showing that to the public. That looks really bad, in my opinion, from an outside. Like, like if Asmon goes like, oh, let me see what's going on over. Oh my God, he can't even PvP. Why am I going to log in? You know? But hey, we need sport fishing and people want duels. Now, later down the road, when they have the performance flushed out, then maybe we can talk about one-on-one duels or arena systems, something like that. You know, but until then, I just think we utilize the current PvP systems and get those performance issues flushed out. And I think that's why there won't be a wipe for a while, is because they are trying to work on the dynamic gridding, and they don't really care about, oh, this guy's over here duping 40,000 mats, this guy's over here doing this, etc. They need the data from us crashing at the server nodes and the large scale PvP events. They need all that data to be able to build the server, in my opinion. So I think they should just focus on that and ignore the people crying for more content, and just keep working on performance. That's what I think.
I think the engineers are definitely, I mean, that's their job. I mean, there's a whole department that literally just server stabilization, the server infrastructure. So yeah, those people are definitely still working on that, doing their thing. But I will definitely agree with you. Phase 3 is the worst performant out of any of the phases. Because even in phase 1, people are like, Vlad, like phase 1 was clearly terrible. It was terrible, but I wasn't crashing every hour on the hour. Like ever since phase 3, like that stupid Unreal Engine crash. And there's some people that crash like every 30 minutes. There's some people who crash every 2 hours. But like whenever you're playing and the game just crashes, like that to me was so like, oh God, it just, and again, phase 1 was very server. There was a lot of issues. I mean, remember the invisible walls, the being locked in a server worker. Like I experienced all of that, but the lag, like there's just so much like stuttering. Like I have an amazing computer and it feels like I can't even run Ashes smoothly. When in phase 2, I would stream on one computer. I didn't have a separate computer like to do streaming and then my gaming. Like I did it all on one computer and I was running Ashes beautifully. And then come phase 3, not so beautifully. And, it's, even sometimes grinding at, like you have a party of 8 grinding at the Citadel, or, you're doing something at Remnants of Civilian or whatever. And not only that, but mobs are also acting insane too. Like I don't know what happened to mobs or what bricked mobs from like behaviors, but mobs also just aren't working the way they used to. And I don't know. It's just, there's just so many issues. And this is why I prayed and I pleaded to Intrepid to delay phase 3, because I felt like if we were just literally doing this on the PTR player and we just would have kept 2.5 rolling, basically, I think players would have been in a way better state. I think the doom and gloom would be at a not an all-time low, but it would be way lower than what it currently is now. And we'd just be waiting for, hey, like when is phase 3 really going to launch? You know what I mean? Because to me, I think phase 3 hasn't really launched yet. I know they say phase 3 is out, but we still have no summoner. We have no Renkai. We have no story arcs. We literally have nothing except new recipes.
And the anvils. That's it. And the new recipes.
And the anvils.
And then the thing about the new recipes is like, okay, I remember you talking to Flinker, I think, about like the bags. You're like, I can't afford to make the bags, but I mean, like Flinker said, you just make the other variant of the bag,
the basket.
So like, right, and that goes for gear too, right? So like certain gear sets and weapons cost like an insane amount, and you can make another one that's almost equal to that. So like most people are just doing, right, like most people are just making, like mages are just making cog sets, and they're not making, they're not mixing like 3-piece of the other sets. And it's just because of how expensive it is. And it's just, that's, you want more HP and survivability. That's what you have to wear. And that's, I don't like that. I don't like forced metas. There needs to be more variety. Some of the items in the game are just completely useless. Like nobody would ever make them. Like they might make them not knowing any better. Right? Like there was people who sold me stuff at like pennies because they didn't know better. Like they didn't know what they had. It was like going to a yard sale. So, but the not knowing any better, and most players are gonna know, oh, this is an orange item. It's probably worth something. So they're not just gonna sell it to you for like a penny.
Right. I think a lot of this. the economy stuff, right, is still kind of being figured out from both the devs and the players. Um, I'm personally just kind of over the fact that people, and I get it, right? Static no rarity exists. This idea of like all you see when every time I go onto live, that's the only two rarities that people are looking for: epic or legendary. Like no other rarity exists. And I really can't wait until static rarity is actually removed. But to be honest, like people are saying, oh, let's wipe so that we can have like an even playing field. Like that's fine. Like I understand the reasoning why, but I'm not thinking gameplay. I want to be even with other players. I could give two shits. I don't care if I'm naked and I see a person in all legendaries. He can kill me all he wants. I'm here, and a lot of people are here to test this game. And we talked about data and, Intrepid getting data from certain back-end things. That's all I fucking care about. This is at any day, at any time, Steven can be like, hey, we're wiping servers. Something critical just occurred. We need to just start over again. You know what I mean? That could happen. You know what I mean? It's like, so why am I going to feel like I'm so invested on a character that literally can be like wiped at any time?
Yeah, it's an alpha, so it's not even a game.
True.
I mean, I just don't think that they're going to wipe anytime soon. And also, if they are trying to collect data for progression, how long it takes to level nodes, back-end data like lag, I honestly don't get why they split the population. They should have forced EU to play with us again.
EU was wanting the force. Like
yeah, I know that.
Remember it clear as day. Yeah, I remember being in the Discord.
Look at the progression on their server compared to ours. And then look at ours just in general without having their, even if they did have like 400 players only, that's still 400 more players than we don't have on the main server to progress data faster.
Right.
And most of them played like flanker, like EU players, they
play go hard
to win. Yeah, they play to win. So I don't understand if all they wanted was the data, then they would have done that.
I think the data could have showed on their server is like, what does a dying server look like? You know what I mean? Like how much progression can happen on a quote unquote like dying server. I mean, that probably will still give them data, you know what I mean? And give them like, well, this would be a good candidate for a merge, right? So if we see this kind of a data set again on a server, that probably indicates we probably need to merge this server with somewhere else, And I know people don't like the idea of server merges, but I mean, it's inevitable. Like there's going to be servers that are just going to die. And as much as people say, no, let our server, we're good, we don't need to merge. Yes, you do. Like, I'm sorry. Like no one likes to play on a dying server. It doesn't feel good. Like I understand that you don't want to be.
Yeah, and it costs the devs money.
Yeah, I mean, to have just more servers to be ramped up or whatever. But I think it's just good in the long run. You know what I mean? Like, I think it'd be interesting to see if, let's say they actually did merge EU with NA. You know what I mean? Like that could be interesting too. There could be certain things that they can do from a testing perspective. And honestly, that's all I care about. Like I don't have an attachment to my character. And it's always funny to me because people always make fun of me like, Vlad, you've never hit level 25 in a single phase. Like, why should I care about what you say? You don't have to care about what I have to say. Like, I think most players like yourself, Tango, like I'm not super famous in the Ashes space, but people know who I am. They're not going to follow me for advice on high-end gameplay for Ashes of Creation. Let's just be honest. Like, if they're going to look for someone high-end, they're probably going to watch Flankers videos or someone who plays at a super high-end. I come from the perspective of like the casual dad gamer that's here to test a game, that's here to give them, feedback on how it feels to play a game, like at a casual perspective, like, because I don't have a lot of time to play Ashes of Creation. Like my daughter goes to bed at 7. Maybe I have from 7 to 9, and then I have to go spend time with my wife after that. But, I don't consider myself a casual, but in the sense of time, I am very casual time wise. But when I play the game, I'm going to play the game freaking hard. Like because I want to be efficient. I don't want to leave my guild behind in that sense either, right? Like I don't want them to think that I'm not reliable or that I can't offer something to them. But I feel like right now too, it's just hard in general because it's like there's just nothing compelling, at least from my perspective, to do. You know, like I don't want to craft T3 or T2 gear to do what with? Like you said earlier, PvP is pretty much dead unless
Yeah,
it's
it's structured
forced.
PvP.
Yeah.
That's like, and then anybody you would try to fight in the open world seems to just cry about it.
Yeah. So
So,
what's the point of gear? Like what's the point of making all like to do and
I mean,
grab all
that's
this gear? I just don't see it.
all we're doing right now weekly is we're planning sieges, we're doing scrims in-house, we have scrims planned with other guilds. You know, some people are still farming stuff, I don't know why. But for the most part, we're actually planning already for the next wipe, for the next start. We're trying to structure better because I mean, when what so like a player like yourself, right? Even if you could play 6 hours a day, like you couldn't do enough in 6 hours to really get anything done unless all you did for that 6 hours, you logged in, immediately went and beat on rocks, and then just turned all your rocks in and then logged out and did whatever. And
Yeah.
then next time you logged in, you did the same thing, and that's all you could do. And that unfortunately, for somebody that doesn't have a lot of time to play, uh, we actually had workers that sold to us every day, uh, and they were like yourself. They could only play at most maybe 6-8 hours, and they would just sell us their materials they farmed every day, and we would just buy everything they bought. And then after like 2.5 weeks of selling to us, they actually had enough gold now to buy their full set of gear from us. So they essentially just, they couldn't do anything else. So they essentially min-maxed by only farming when they played. Because like if you try to craft something yourself, like I said, just getting the stuff for the bench, just getting the stuff ready is a hassle. Like you need
Right.
the fuel, you need the gold, you need the regent, you need the materials. They got to match colors, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's just a lot of work. So for some people who don't have that time, in my opinion, those people should only do the best gold farm per hour when they can play, and then just sell that for raw gold, and then use that gold to get their gear later, and not try to even be a part of econ because like they don't have time for it. It's just that's just how that is.
Well, I think a lot of people too that belongs to guilds feel like they want to contribute. So it's like, how does that work? Right? Like if I'm going to gather for my entire play session, do I keep half for myself, give the other half to my guild? Um, like I don't know, like I feel that from a lot of players, at least from my guild particularly. Um, I would like everything I grabbed. I really didn't make anything myself. I just gave it away to people that in my guild that needed it or whatever. Um, because to me it just was kind of fugazi. It's just like whatever. Like like I said, like I don't really play Ashes seriously because it's just not meant to be played seriously, at least not yet. So and that's why I've always managed to play Ashes for months, because when most people stopped playing, I was still playing for the most part, because the people that ran super hard, like the tortoise and the hare, right? The hares got all their gear, did everything within like 2 weeks, and then they were like crying because there's no concert, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
They quit, and I was still running my race. Like I was still playing in months and months and months. So, but to me, I feel like the player that quit 2 weeks after, or the player like myself that plays for months, I don't consider like me like I can endure more, so I'm better, or that person in 2 weeks like did all this stuff, so they're better. Some people just don't want to feel like their time is being wasted. And I feel like if you spent your 2 weeks, you did everything you needed to do, and you don't want to do anything anymore, don't. And if you still want to play, like you still want to log in every day and make gear, do something with the economy, leave some bug reports and everything like that, do it. I just think that there's this unwarranted level of toxicity that's like in the Ashes community of like, you know, telling players like you're not cut out for this game. Like I don't know, like how do you feel about that?
I think there needs to be so like common and uncommon items need to be just that. They need to be commonly dropped. And uncommon items need to be like 1 in 4,
Yeah.
a couple hundred. So that way the casual players who don't want to farm 8-10 hours in one spot and they only want to do a couple hours, their group might get a couple pieces they can roll on.
Mm-hmm.
But then like blue pieces would be like 1 in 1,000, whatever, a little harder to get. And then you just can't drop heroic or better.
Yeah.
Uh I do think there should be that. That way, while
Completely
those
agree.
casual players are, farming, only playing for a few hours a day, they do have something that they can fight back with. So they're not just completely naked. I don't agree with being just naked. And then
Which
the heroic stuff should all just be crafted. Anything heroic plus.
yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. I think having like I know there's certain tier sets from Steel Bloom that I think the lowest rarity is uncommon, but I'm like, why can't there be a common version of that? Make
Yeah.
make a common version of it. Fuck it.
Right.
Who gives a shit? Have the common, uncommon, and rare, and then anything else like. And then I also think too, recipes should drop more commonly. Like I would love if T1 and T2 material, T1 and T2 recipes dropped a little bit more common than the actual gear, because
You mean like Mystic Lens only being able to drop up to level 9?
oh yeah, that's so dumb. Like
Yeah.
there's so many little problems too with certain um items you need to obtain from mobs. But recipes are one. The Mystic Lens is another. There's another one too that's also kind of obnoxious. Emblems, I think, are in an okayish state. I think there's some emblems that it could drop probably a little bit more frequently. But
I
yeah,
don't agree with the Carfin buff, by the way, that's coming to the emblems. 8 of us farmed Carfin the other night, and we got hundreds of the emblems. We did maybe 4 or 5 hours. So, and that was just a couple hours, and there was 8 of us. And I think each, what is it, like 80, let's say 90. So we could have made like 3 sets or something in the time we were there. So that's way too much. So if they're increasing
yeah,
it by 20%, that's, the emblems are going to be therefore worthless. And then the bottleneck of the craft will now be hunting. And yeah, I'd rather be forced to fight over mobs in Carfin than forced to fight over a huntable. Like,
huntables to me are just in a really poor state overall. I mean, of course, we have the actual interaction of petting the thing, which we can all agree it's alpha, right? But
yeah.
I don't understand a couple of things when it comes to certain gatherables, like Weeping Willow, Braidwood, and just literally huntables in general. Like, why are these rare? Why is it that I can literally go for hours and never see a Weeping Willow, never see like any kind
Well,
of
that's
like,
because of statics.
well,
So the people that farm for me, they have timers and routes, and
I hate that. I hate that so much.
there's ranges. And the other thing is trees and rocks generally spawn within like, 8, like a football field away from where they spawned previously. So like they don't spawn too far away. So if you just know, like, especially in the anvils, like the anvils, Morning Slate, for example, Morning Slate nodes always spawn in the same spot. So if you go to anvils and you just mark on a map, you just make your own map of where all the Morning Slate is. Guess what? You know where every single node is now. It's a little different for willows because willows share the spawn of like ashwood and oaks. Uh, but if you just have a general idea of where all the trees are on the map, then you bypass where there aren't trees and there aren't rock. It's just like the desert. The desert only has, well, they ruined the desert. The desert gives nothing now. I don't know what they did to the
Wait,
desert this
what?
phase, but yeah, the desert, it get like you'll go down there and mine. When you mine stuff, you only get common. common and uncommon. You don't get rare or higher. I don't know what they did to the desert this
That's
phase, but the desert last
interesting.
phase was broken because you could literally, I would consider it an exploit. You could force spawn Legos because there was only a set
Jesus.
amount of nodes in the desert. So if a couple of you just sat within the grids and one person sat on where you found the first Lego, the other people could run around and farm the other nodes, and it would force spawn the Lego back while they were farming. And it would only move like every 8 to 14 tap. So like that's how we
That's
printed.
nuts.
Yeah, that's why Overlord actually thought we were cheating, is because of that. Because we just printed the Lego iron that way. But I mean, that's not, to me, that's not exploiting. That's just game knowledge, knowing how the game works, how the mechanics works.
I mean, it seems pretty because if you know how something works, right?
I mean, is
And it,
farming static rarity cheating too? Then
I
it's
mean,
the same thing.
it is, but it's like, especially if you know that you can force spawn, like you can't force spawn a static, like, currently. So
Right,
it's
but you
like,
can time it. You can just set timers. It's gonna spawn itself. It's just the force spawning of it. You just made it occur faster.
so you can make it force spawn, even like, let's say if like
You used to be able to, but now they changed desert to where
yeah, you
we've
could only
literally,
get common and uncommon.
yeah, right. So they fixed that immediately.
Probably because they were like, you know what, we can't fix this now. Let's just make it to where you can only get these two rarities. It's probably what ended up happening. Um,
Right.
but I mean, my whole thing is that like there's certain things that I think people, this is why I think a lot of the big guilds always got like this kind of like tag of like exploiters, and well, because some of them, I mean, they know who they are. There was video footage of this, of like them doing certain exploits or whatever. But I feel like there's certain things that they can say like, oh, well, this was just game knowledge. But it's like, but you knew this is something that wasn't supposed to happen that is currently happening. And I think this is also to the competitive side of things that's making certain guilds just not have a good reputation, probably for the long term. And I think it's up to the guild leaders or up to the officers of those guilds of like, hey, like, do you want to do this to get the edge? Do it. And if you do it, there's consequences. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Uh, what's funny is the chest exploit that people were doing.
Oh, and Carfin?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the devs actually went through and deleted a lot of those items,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and people accused us of selling them items from the chest, and I don't know how we would have gotten them unless one of the guilds that were doing it gave them to us, because Vice was only like 10 or 13 people at that time. So it's not
Oh,
like we
damn.
could just walk up to the, and open the chest. Um, but people actually accused us of selling them exploited items, and it started a huge drama for us
Interesting.
on the Discord, and it was super annoying for
Yeah.
me. For me, that shit. I mean, they deleted the items that were gotten from it, so you know, cool. Uh, but it's not as bad as people like duping. Dude, people were selling us like one of my best trades ever was 318 Lego Ruby, and I paid like 30 gold, 32 gold or something. And this was like week 2.5 to 3. So they were
A phase 3?
relatively, yeah, this phase.
Jesus. Okay, keep going.
And they weren't that cheap. At the time they were probably like 30, maybe 40 silver each. So, but we had people selling us hundreds of Lego materials like every few hours. And it
Jesus.
wasn't it definitely wasn't from the crate duping either. Like there's uh There's
That's
definitely a
insane.
trade. There's got to be a trade dupe.
I mean, and this is what I'm hoping Intrepid is literally looking at, because again, if it is a trade dupe and we get Static Rarity out of there, right? And it's like, oh, someone found like a legendary copper. Let's do the thing, right? And
Yeah.
now we have 50 of these legendary copper. Like, I think that's going to be a way easier for Intrepid to be like, wait a minute, you know, the legendary variants just skyrocketed in our back end systems. Like, what the fuck just happened, right? So, because I feel like now with Static Rarity, like, I feel like it's almost like a weatherman being like, I don't fucking know what the weather's gonna be tomorrow. Just like spin the fucking wheel. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's kind of like Intrepid's devs currently with like Static Rarity. But I think if there is any kind of exploitive dupes or tricks that people just are keeping hush hush about, that's the other thing that really pisses me off, is that these guilds that have knowledge of a certain thing don't even put in a bug report. They don't do anything. They keep it under wraps. And then as soon as like another person or a group catches wind, now all of a sudden let's just dump everything out. Oh, and we're going to make a Reddit post and we're going to, shout it out. And, oh, I already talked to the devs about it 2 minutes ago. But yes, I already talked to the devs about it. They already know, yada, yada, yada. Like, it just pisses me off. It's like, bro, you've known about this for weeks, potentially months, whatever the case is. It's like, I don't know. Like, and it's literally to get ahead in a fucking alpha. Like, that's the thing I don't understand. Like, I understand people want to be competitive, but it's like to go that far. Like, I always see the meme, right? You remember that meme of like the guy in the blue shirt, like winning, and he's like popping the champagne and he's like 11th place. It's like, I feel like it's like that meme in Ashes. It's like people are
Right.
celebrating for like these wins. They're like, bro, no one cares. Like, no one fucking cares. Like,
Uh,
it doesn't matter.
the worst part for me is the RM tiers that are selling for a profit. They're like turning the game into a business.
Oh yeah, every MMO is
And
a
that
business.
I hate that. And
Aren't
that's what ruined like Lost Ark. That ruined a lot of other MMOs. And it's really hard to combat it unless the developers, have an entire team dedicated to just like buying gold themselves, and trapping the gold sellers, and then every 3 months, they ban the seller. Um, and then anybody who purchases from that player during that 3 months obviously gets banned, etc. But I
yeah.
mean, that costs a lot of money. That costs a lot of time, manpower. But I mean, some of these trades I've been doing, you know, uh, we've done well over 40,000 gold, like touched this phase. So
Jesus Christ.
some of these people are like, "Yo, we need full Akadira, like epic or heroic, whatever," and we'd be like, "Yeah, it'd be like 750 a piece." Oh yeah, sure. Just let me hit up my friend. Give me like 10 minutes, and we're like, okay." So 10 minutes later, they show up and we do like the 5-6 trades and logging into different alts to be able to take the gold. And this is multiple
Jesus.
players, so it's like
In your
the only people we
operation,
ever.
or go
What?
ahead, go ahead. Go finish your thought. Finish your
I
thought.
was gonna say the only people we ever see running vans like for gold is Amnesty Black and their ally EBC, the Aussies, but they play it like 4 or 5 a.m. Eastern. So where's all this gold coming from? It's and I don't think you can, without the crates. I don't think you can dupe just gold because there is a handshake when you trade gold. When you trade gold in a trade, you can there's like a server handshake between your client and the other client and the server. So I I don't know where all the gold's coming from. Like the materials, sure. The materials, there's no handshake, so we understand that.
Mhm.
But the gold, we don't understand where that's coming from, even if it was from just crates, because each alt can only hold 1,000 gold. So you got to think about that. Like,
Yeah.
and there's other people like Eclipse, right? They got thousands of gold. There's a ton of people who have thousands of gold. Where's it all coming from? Because that they're sure, like, where are the crates and vans that are producing that gold? The best glint farm in the game is 6 gold an hour, 8 gold max. Where's the gold coming from?
I mean, that's the thing, right? Botters, RMTers.
I think it's
Like,
worse than that.
you think it's worse than that? You think there's a bigger
I think
conspiracy?
well, in my opinion, the best way to combat gold is to choke the supply out, flood
Right.
the supply out. So if you can literally just print gold yourself and flood the market and force the RMTers to be like, oh, hey, this market's saturated. We can't make money here. Let's go play this game instead. Let's move our bot network over here instead. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that could be one way they're combating it, and that's far cheaper than hiring a whole team to do it. But I don't,
I think when it
other than
comes,
that, I don't know where the gold's coming from.
I think currently, like, there's hopefully a lot of the data that they're trying to get from a back end perspective. Like, I know they talk about the IS Shoal and kind of like, because I remember, Steven, you're talking about that even materials have IDs on them, gear has IDs on them. So clearly, like, everything can be tracked.
You know who else told me that?
Who?
Chris from Diablo. And
Chris Robertson.
that came out not to be true, and none of the items had any ID numbers, and duping was 100 a thing.
Yeah, I mean, all I can go off of is what they say. Now, could Steven be lying or maybe not have all the facts, you know what I mean, straight? Absolutely.
I don't know how much money they have compared to Diablo and Blizzard, but
probably
I'm
not
sure
as
it's not as much.
Not billions, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I just don't see them being able to track, like, like the inventory system, like what the duping with the guild bank. Why did they remove the ability to craft from your bank, etc.? These were all probably to prevent malicious dupes and other malicious exploits and activities. And they just won't say that publicly. Otherwise, to me, there is no good that's a step backwards for removing that stuff, unless it was to prevent exploits.
It's a good point. I've always wanted them to be able to do that. The fact that I have to carry it on my person every time just pisses me off. It's just so it's just like, why? Okay. Like, why can't I just do it from my storage?
Well, the worst part is guilds like us. If we see another guild that we don't like or we know that's rich, right? We click on your character. We know your crafters. We know who your mains, alts, etc. We know everything about you. So we see you log in your crafter. You pop a food buff. You have to manually take all the items to the bench. We see that. We're gonna war deck you and attack you, and kill you and waste your food buff. We're gonna try to steal your materials because you being who you are, you're probably making an epic plus item. So you're going to have some juicy emblems. You're going to have a bunch of Lego materials, epic materials, etc. And to me, that would be not a thing if you could still craft from the bank.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be able to just hunt people. Oh, look, this guy logged in. And it's kind of screwed up because, like I said, my mouse has infinite amount of programmable macros. So I just be like, oh, let me just scroll through my name macro. And what it does is it sends all of my enemies messages, all of them. And it says player not found, player not found. Up, player's online. Up, why is he online? Where is he? What city is he in? Then we switch to all of our alts in every single city. And we find where they are. And then we see what they're doing. And this is because there's nothing to do in game. And we're like, we might as well just mess with these people who are playing the game and show the devs that this is a terrible mechanic, terrible, absolutely should be removed. And nobody complains about these things except the people it happens to, and it's not enough noise to drown out, like, oh, we want duels, for example, right?
Right.
Like, you see far more people wanting duels than fixing a griefing system.
Right. I mean, I think when it comes to economy, I remember actually leaving that feedback of like having to use your storage, that if you're in a bench in Jova,
Mhm.
should be able to use your Jova storage to pull fuel or to pull any, raw items, uh, processed items from that particular storage. Like
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why that can't be the case. And again, there might be certain parameters and certain limitations currently because they have bigger fish to fry. Right. They're trying to make other bits of content. They're trying to do other things. So it's like always this kind of cat and mouse game of like, well, do you guys want us to do this thing or do you want us to make the content? Right. Like it's like this kind of tug and pull that Intrepid's probably been, figuring out as of late. My worry, and this is kind of currently like, I was actually going to try to make a video, but I didn't have any freaking time today. And thank you for being gracious to, talk a little bit later than what we originally scheduled.
Yeah, no problem.
But they've been keeping quiet recently. And we were supposed to have the live stream last Friday, right? Halloween. That didn't happen. It got delayed. We've had no PTR. We have no Steven even.
What are the rules about talking about the PTR? Like, are we allowed to talk about how the PTR is currently?
PTR is just visual.
Okay,
they don't want us to show any, but we can talk about it all we want.
Oh, okay. So currently the PTR, right? Like the last week or so, they had the corruption event and all that stuff, right? Well, the problem with this event is, imagine Carfin, the graphics in Carfin. So you know how everybody lags out. You walk up to Carfin, your computer breaks. You have a $20,000 computer. It doesn't matter. You hear you cracking and stuff. It's overheating, and then it fixes itself. And then you go upstairs in Carfin. You go through another server worker, and it does the same thing. So what's happening currently on the PTR with the corruption event is that's everywhere, right? So like, imagine just that everywhere, and it's just every 20 feet your game's just brick. And I think that's the main delay reason for the delay is the performance.
Oh, dude, yeah. There was a comment, someone, because I think there either was on Twitter, it was like a picture of the Harbingers and like, embrace the corruption, coming soon, or I can't remember what the thing was.
Yeah, there was like FPS.
Yeah, and there was a comment saying like, yeah, enjoy this with 3 FPS or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, because like there was even outside of Carfin, there were certain like corruption visuals that were literally just going from like 120 frames to like 16,
Right.
So they had to literally take those out. And again, my whole thing is that, people are very much looking forward to this Harbingers event, which is fine, totally fine. But when have they ever released a system that just worked, one-shotted it, everything's working perfectly? We're still a year out, and we're still iterating node sieges. We're still...
What happened to
What happened to what?
Freeholds.
Oh, yeah.
Where'd they go?
They took that offline.
No explanation. Were they coming back? Maybe. It's on the wiki, right? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that I think, they've kept their heads down. And my worry is, like, let's say 0.17 gets released on Friday. And we compare the 0.17 patch notes of last week to this one, and there's like 3 additional lines that are just more fixes. Are people going to be happy? Are people going to be upset? Like, my whole thing is like, we always talk about this open development. What's so hard to just go into Discord and just give us an update? Like,
you mean be more transparent about like, oh, hey, like, we didn't update anything that you will physically see, but like on the back end, we updated like, the dynamic server gridding or
right.
So you're saying be more transparent about all that shenanigans that we don't even know about?
Or just in general, like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, the reason why we've been with our heads down, we're trying to add, this thing, or thing that we said we were going to add has been giving us problems. So just give us time, like, just something like, oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like, and again, it's kind of weird that Steven hasn't even been in Discord, like, ever since. Remember when it was like Discord was getting pretty hot a couple of weeks ago,
Right.
and Steven was like, I think it was literally the day that Steven came out of surgery, because I remember him being in Discord then. But I mean, it's been pretty hot and heavy in the general pop in the Ashes Discord, and he hasn't been on. He hasn't popped in
that could be a
say
good
anything.
thing, though. So
Maybe.
a lot of people in my guild, for example, right? It's really hard and complex to manage and maintain and run the operation that we did for over the month. That goes like how many pieces of wood go to this crafter, how much gold is allocated to wood, to this, et cetera, et cetera. It's a business. And we had to maintain it and grow it while maintaining it. So the first week we're at 80 gold, second week we're like double that, third week triple that. So what I'm saying is, people in my guild, they were like, well, we don't know what we have, we don't know what we're spending, yada 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 yada. We want to track it, we want all this information. They were talking essentially like what you're saying is, that we want to see the back end. But people like me who were doing all the manual work and, quote unquote back end work, I didn't even have time to answer your call, for example. Like if you called me, I'd be like, hey, sorry, busy. Right? Like I turned my phone off. I'm busy for 16 hours straight and I can't do anything else. And they wanted a system where, it logged like every trade, it logged everything. And I was like, nobody has time to do that. We barely have time to do what needs to be done, let alone add extra steps like informing, quote unquote, the public or, the rest of the guild, what we were doing with the materials, the gold, and our time. It's just feasibly, even if it was 2 to 5 minutes to explain all that, that 2 to 5 minutes was like our sanity because of how hard we were working. So like maybe that's the predicament that Steven and them are in. Like they're working so hard to fix everything that's broken currently that they don't have time to reply. And if they did reply, it would just be angry nonsense because they're trying to maintain their sanity. So maybe that, like, I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully that's why. But it could be worst case scenario, they're being quiet because they can't figure out the dynamic gridding and they're having major issues with it, but they just don't know how to express that publicly without killing their game.
Right. I think I give Intrepid a pass for a lot of things. And I would say even during the crunch of releasing Ashes of Creation Alpha 2, and believe me, they were very heads down, working 20-hour days. I mean, some of them were, it was crazy. We were still getting more from them then. So not saying I'm not giving them a pass this time, but it's like, you have other people like Roshan, you have Vaknar, that I'm pretty sure they're in meetings with, that they can just be like, hey, this is kind of what's going on. But it seems to me that they're just purposefully not letting us know what's going on, because maybe they're just like, well, that's what Friday's for. Just wait till Friday. You know what I mean? But it's, I feel like I'm not saying that I'm entitled to know like right this second or whatever, but it's like, I feel like there's just, and I said this with Phantom last time I spoke to him last week, that it's like there's these moments where we're very transparent and others that we're just very closed. And I feel like currently we're just very closed communication. You know what I mean? Up until we'll have very open communication on Friday, but before that, you ain't gonna hear nothing. And to me, just like, I don't understand it. Like I literally don't get it. Because to me, it's just very simple. Just let us know. Like, make a little @post to be like, hey, this is what's been going on. It doesn't have to be from Steven, doesn't have to be from Margaret, but I'm pretty sure the other, not saying that Roshan's bottom of the rung, but comparatively to Steven and Margaret, they are. I have a pretty good idea that they know probably what's going on to an extent. Maybe not the entire, but I think cluing us in, it isn't too hard, especially because I think these last 2 weeks, the community has been at a very all-time low. Like the morale is just shot and you feel it. Like it's, and now, especially with the whole New World thing that happened recently, it just feels even more so, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm optimistic for Friday, but um I'm
I think
not
it's gonna be bad news bears.
I'm not really expecting anything. Like I really don't even know what Friday is even going to be. I mean, because I know they're going to show Summoner, which I already seen Summoner. I played Summoner, so I'm
I'm
not
not really
really.
too excited for the summoner. I'm more excited for the performance fixes, and then if they are going to improve, the rarity drops, how they are going to improve the rarity to affect the econ, um, and how much that's going to change the grind of the econ. Like
Oh
at
yeah,
that point, what if they make it like hunting, right? Like good luck getting a Lego wolf, right? You play 10 months, you don't see a Lego wolf. Uh, and if they do that, that's too much. I'm a min max or hardcore player, but that to me, that would be insanity. Like
yeah.
that would literally kill the game. So hopefully they're trying to figure that balance out more so than anything else. And the sport fishing, I think that's a bad move.
I didn't
Bad move to
understand
do
the
that.
whole sports fishing because then it's like we just got all these econ stuff, right? We got all these recipes. If we get these bigger fish that aren't from the other fish, so we have regular fish, right, that we get from regular fishing.
Well, it'll be a crate apparently, and you have to deliver said crate.
Right. But it seems to me that these fish are different
Yeah, these are
than
not going to be a crafting material or anything like that. Correct.
right. So this is not going to be an ingredient that's going to be used for
Yes.
crafting. This is going to be specifically a fish crate.
Correct. And we don't know if it's going to give like scripts or just raw gold or, whatever, glint. We don't
Yeah.
know. Um,
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't know.
right.
I'm kind of at this point where I just need information. That's it.
I mean,
I don't really whatever it is they do, because honestly, it's not even point 17 I'm really looking
I don't think
forward to.
Roshan knows, to be honest. Because, like, an
Oh, I think he does.
example in phase two, at the end of phase two, above Forge, the devs had a party house. They literally made a building. There was actually two buildings, but one of the buildings was full of Christmas trees and presents. It was a really nice setup. It was like Cinderella ballroom. And I asked Roshan about it. I sent him all the screenshots. He's like, "Hey, I wasn't invited to this party. What is this?" And then he went and asked about it. And then apparently the devs had a party at that house. They did like a celebration party in phase two at that house. But nobody ever talked about that.
Interesting.
So like in my opinion, if the devs are doing more stuff like that, they should be forward about that. That was cool. That was one of the coolest things I've seen in the game, by the way. I actually have the screenshots. I'll show you later on, but we have the screenshots from all the inside of the building and everything. And I hope that they're not doing that all the time, though. Like
Right.
when they have a big win, then sure. But that could be another issue. Is maybe one of their or some of their devs are spending more time playing the game than developing it. I don't know. Like you said, they've been quiet, so we don't know.
We don't. Well, I mean, we've been talking already for about an hour and 20 minutes. So, I mean, this has been very interesting conversation. Honestly, today when I was like super busy with my wife, I was thinking like, man, this conversation I'm going to have with Tango is going to be, I think, pretty interesting. And it's like, I really appreciate you being respectful, like even in your reaction to my video and everything like that.
I mean,
Um,
it's not a bad thing to be a casual. That's just a label. It's just
oh yeah,
what
no,
you
I
can
don't take
put
any.
forward as a person. Like, dude, people have lives. Like, what do you
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like, just because I don't have kids or anything, like other people do. So, I mean, not everybody has the freedoms and stuff that I do. So that's just a fortune, blessing that I have that others don't, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just you, in my opinion, should just play in a different way than somebody who does min max hardcore play every day. Like, you
Well,
just have to find your own avenue and then grind that to what you feel is best, and don't compare yourself to min maxers,
oh
right?
no,
Like
I
that's
can't.
like,
There's no way.
yeah,
There's
that's,
no way.
you know, I'm not going to compare myself to like a college professor or anything for teaching anyone, like, you know, etc. Because you know, I didn't go to school for that.
No, I mean, but my whole thing is that MMOs are meant to be fun. And I think a lot of us, you know, treat MMOs as like a job, like, especially if we come from the genre, like we've been at the genre for a long time. We have all this knowledge about the genre or maybe about the certain game that we're wanting to really go into. That's why a lot of us are here in the alpha, right? Some people are here to like see what Ash is about. Others are here to literally learn because once the live game comes out, they want to be prepared and be ahead of the curve and know what exactly they're getting themselves into. I find myself kind of in the dabble of both. Like, I want to know a little bit of what's going on, but I also want some mystery, but I also just want to have fun, dude. Like, I really want
Uh,
Ashes to be like, hopefully like a little bit of a resurrection of like my vanilla WoW days, you know, just being able to go out and again, I want to have like my fun, but I also want to contribute to my guild too. So I have to find that balance, but I'm also not afraid to be left in the dust, quote unquote, by the people that are going to hardcore level and try to get to max as quickly as possible and all that stuff. Like, it doesn't bother me, because I have my own race to run, and I want to have,
right.
as a streamer, as a content creator, I want to be able to like go through my journey. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm pretty sure when all the other people are level 50 and they're like, oh, there's Vlad level 37, he's almost there. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to feel cool for me. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, y'all have been level 50 or whatever, but you know, it's gonna be rememberable for me. You know what I mean? And I don't want it to just be lost in the shuffle of like, oh, I got number 4, you know, server person to hit level 50. No one's gonna remember number 4. You know what I mean? People barely remember number 1, you know, much
Right.
less any other number. So to me, it's like, I don't feel like I need the prestige or this thing, you know, with Ashes. I just want to have fun, man. I just want to, and I think that's what gets me about Ashes is that it has the potential, once all the systems are realized and once all the systems are actually in the game, and we can start actually balancing I think it has the potential to actually be just a shit ton of fun. And I'm not trying to
I think
water anything down. I want them to be something I can work towards, but I think also the work starts tremendously early than what it should. Like, I think the first 25 levels in any MMO should be fun and exciting, not, oh, like I have to like punch in, you know, at level 8 and, you know, feel like every single thing is like this chore. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think MMO should be that way.
right. Well, I mean, that should change if they just adjust, you know, the more casual loop to where, you know, you actually get rewarded for killing a mob. You know, you kill 100 mobs, you actually get a weapon or something.
Right.
Like, you know, whether it's white weapon or green, it doesn't matter. Hopefully that's all balanced out later. I think the biggest part for us playing right now is figuring out all the exploits, getting those fixed, you know, figuring out all the just bugs. I'm still questioning why they removed freeholds. That was a system we have gold set aside to buy 10 plus freeholds, and where are they at? Um, the I mean, we're literally testing the game, so we try to report every bug we find, whether it's, you know, just a graphical glitch, a spell didn't work, it doesn't matter. We try to report everything, and we also try to just break the game too. Intentionally try to find exploits. We won't utilize them, but we will report them. And
Good.
some of them, if they're bad enough, and then RMTers are abusing it, I will make it public. I'll just make a video on how to do it and ship it out. So
Yeah.
then they
You
have,
s-
you know,
you send me
put it on
that.
the.
If you come across anything like that in the future, you send it to me. I'll make a video about it too.
Yeah, 100%. I love the game. You know, whether it's in a bad state or not, it's had good moments. So if they can just replicate those moments, improve the performance, get the systems in that they've promised, and just focus on progressing the game's overall development and performance, you know, I think it'll just continue to get better. Um, and your perspective of the game, I'm not like 90 to I'd say 95% of the player base is more towards your level of gameplay than me and Flanker. Like most people aren't min-maxing, dude. Like it's, you know, maybe 100 people total in the
Yeah.
entire game.
I
And a
think it's a
lot
little
of
bit more than
those,
that, but I mean, I get your point.
okay,
Like it's not a lot. It's not a lot.
yeah, it's not. And so like what I'm saying is if majority of players are quote unquote casuals, then they should cater to that player base more so than the hardcore player base. Not saying they should remove the hardcore aspect. I'm just saying there needs to be an easier rotation for the casuals. It needs to be
Right.
somehow achievable for, you know, the mom and dad, whatever.
Well,
Um,
because that's again, like that's in my opinion, that kind of majority of the base. I mean, most of
I'd
us
have
are
nothing without, yeah, I'd have
like
nothing without the casual player. Nothing.
yeah, exactly. Like I mean, all of us are level. I mean, level. We're 35-year-old plus families, kids. Um, we have outside of our vacation where we can take a week off to play Ashes and no life it. That's a very limited window of time that expires. Outside of that expiration date, we're just in maintenance mode of anywhere between 2 to potentially 6 to 8 hours a day. And I mean, that's weekdays, probably 2 to 4, weekends, probably 6 to 8. And that's, again, assuming that we're going to neglect our family the entire day. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, so
literally.
it's so, and again, those are very, very realistic numbers. And, I've always said, like, I want to represent the kind of realistic audience that I think Ashes is. And, hey, if you're like a hardcore player, like, hey, go watch Lude Lloyd, go watch, Flanker, there's a bunch of people that I think are very high end, but that's just not me. That's not my channel. And again, I understand Ashes and I don't want it to change or to conform to like me specifically, but I think there are some things that I think it's kind of nudging too far. And again, you might disagree, but I think I want it to scale. Like if we can have what currently apprentice and journeyman are for master and grandmaster, right? I think that to me is in a good state, because that would have to mean that then journeyman, apprentice, and novice are going to scale linearly with that, meaning that it won't be as many materials and everything like that. So people can actually, make a tier 2, if they want to or whatever within that level bracket. Because
there would have to be better ways to make gold then. Because, like I said, just even our
no,
13-man group, we our bottleneck every day, we were limited on how much we could produce by gold. So, like,
right. Well, I think
we had to make,
the gold sinks are too much, in my opinion. Like, I think the gold sinks are too much and the gold faucets are too much. Like, there just are. Like, we should be operating at level 10, maybe around 1 to 3 gold. Like, because realistically, that's probably more in line of what it's going to be. That's like saying like, oh, in vanilla WoW, when you're level 20 or 30, you know what I mean, you should be having like 100 gold. Like that was completely unrealistic back then. And so again, there's going to be like a scaling factor with it. I know right now it kind of feels that we need it to be that way because we don't have 25 other levels to play with. We only have 1 through 25. So this end game that people are trying to create is within these last 2 tiers of apprentice and journeyman. But I just don't think that we should start at this level having, hundreds of gold, because that would have to mean that once we get to level 40 or 50, we're talking about tens of thousands of gold. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think that's going to get absurd really fast. Like even back
I
then, if
mean, comparing it to like what was the Albion, right? Have you heard of this
yeah, I've
MMO
never played
Albion?
Albion, but yeah, I've heard of it.
So like an elephant in that game is like 50 million gold, for example, right? That's like
That's
an
crazy.
absurd amount, right? Like no, like even me, if I hopped on that game, it would take me a long time to farm that. But like the only reason they have that is because their guild owns territory. They are like some of the highest level crafters on that server. And people have to go to them to get certain resources and items made. So they essentially own a supply, and there's a demand for it.
Right.
So like, if they made everything achievable by anyone, especially on the crafting side, it would essentially make like they would just make those items not worth anything. It's just like certain foods right now, like they're super easy to make, so everybody can make them, so they're like worth less than material cost, for example.
Well,
Like people,
I agree with you on that, but I mean, since when did any person ever care about a level 17 item in a game? Like
you'll so our majority of our gold comes from people who have no idea. They're buying white like Tide for 40 gold. Level 10, we were selling level 10 like Forsaken Highwayman Hill drops and Oakbane. Dude, 20, 30 gold week 1 and 2.
that's
Like just the
crazy.
most absurd level 10 stuff. And then we started making heroic focuses and wands, and now we're getting 40, 50, even 60 plus gold per item. And like we could make like 10 a day. So, and the thing was, if everybody else could have made those, we would have made no money. That's what I'm trying to say. And then we wouldn't have never been able to achieve journeyman. We wouldn't have had enough money to even cook the wood to make journeyman tools. Journeyman tools cost, just for our guild to give out. I think we gave out like 12 tools to start. I think it was like I want to say like 200 something gold and just cooking fees for just our guild, not even to sell. Um, and that's an insane amount of gold
That's what I mean.
at
It
the
is an
time.
insane amount of gold.
Right, but we wouldn't have had that if we weren't able to profit off the level 10 stuff and crafting, like without having the stepping stones. um there's no other way to make gold fast enough to profit in any of the markets. So like if you're not the first in the market, you're last. Like you're just
Right.
you know
I get you.
I, yeah, I mean, that's my main thing with the crafting. So I mean, the only other way to balance that is to give like dropped items, like white or green items that are like 30% weaker than a crafted item at level 10, right? So like it doesn't matter what the gear is, just any gear. It could even be from a quest, right? 30-40% lesser stat value than a crafted item. And you would be okay with that, wouldn't you? Like it's better than nothing.
True. I get you. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of adjustments. My whole thing is that I'm I'm wanting to see what they do. There's been a lot of feedback I've given them, and I think maybe like 30% of it they've done, and then 70% they've went another direction or did something else. So we'll see. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to conform to whatever they do, whether I like it or not. That's another story. But I mean, it's going to be an is what it is kind of situation in the future. But
Right.
I'm just here to get my feedback and be like, hey, this is how I feel about it. And some people, like I said, are cool with it. I know there's people that aren't cool with some of the changes and how how some of the fees, in my opinion, when it comes to processing, are just too outrageous. They're just too much. Um, but we'll see. Like I
Yeah,
said,
certain
maybe,
fees are definitely way too much, and I think they should be balanced towards the like basket, for example. Like it should be balanced towards the other craft. Like it should be
right,
equally, you know,
viable,
maybe different materials, but the same cost.
right.
It shouldn't be like 800 times more. Um,
Well,
But I mean, that's, the balance of crafting. Like I said, it's just they have a really good foundation currently, and they just need to build on it, tweak it, and balance it.
yeah, my whole feedback honestly was just it's just number tuning. That's it. Like you could don't change really anything. Like the only
Yeah.
thing I kind of would want that would be kind of a major change was to make vendor reagents optional for novice and apprentice, and then making them like mandatory for journeyman on up. But they don't have to do that. Like if you want to make them a thing, go ahead, still make them a
I mean,
thing.
quality of life definitely needs to be implemented. If not, just bring back guild or like storage crafting.
Yes.
Like that's like they've removed so many things, and now they're adding the sport fishing. That really annoys me. By the way, that's
Yeah. No,
super
I know.
obnoxious. uh, it's like, guys, you've broken 8 other things that are like major systems. Like, where's vassalization?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with that?
That clearly didn't
So
work well this phase. Neither did Node XP, Node benches, broken recipes. There's a lot of little picadillos that players had to deal with. But yeah, let
yeah, I
me.
gotta see. Speaking of benches, I gotta see if we're gonna be trying to rebuild the bench and see if they fixed it. I'm not sure if we're gonna build that in Winstead or not. We actually just won Winstead vote. Uh, so
Congrats.
yeah, thanks. Thunder got it. So yeah, we're gonna see if we can actually get the bench built and not troll the server. You know what I mean? See if it actually works. So that reminds me, I gotta
Well,
actually post a message about that.
well, Tango, I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with
Yeah,
me
thanks a lot
about
for having me,
everything.
dude.
So where can people find you?
Um, anybody's welcome to our Discord. That's discord.gg Vice is nice. And then my YouTube is just Zach Batango. I'm sure you posted somewhere
Yeah, it'll be in
in
the
the
bottom of the
video.
description.
And then sometimes I stream on Twitch, but not often. Normally we're doing things that
Can't stream.
we can't really stream. Yeah, because then everybody would know it, and then we wouldn't be ahead.
Gotcha.
So if I do stream, it's just at twitch.twitch/Zbatango.
All right,
But
brother.
most of my content will be on YouTube, so really appreciate you having me on here and just listening to my side.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I watched your whole video on it and everything like that, and I see your perspective on it. I just think that coming from people that are only going to play 2 to 4 hours, like to me, there's just no reason to have it so much that early on. But again, you know what I mean. I'm not saying that it needs to change, but I think there could be certain people that could stay if it was lessened, and it wouldn't even affect the people like yourself. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it wouldn't affect your gameplay, it wouldn't affect anything, but it would keep those people in Ashes. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to not only attract, because I think people are attracted to Ashes, it's having them stay within the ecosystem. I think because there's just so many things of like, I don't want to play anymore. Like,
Well, we
there's this
lost
thing.
the majority of players when they pulled the ladder out for the gear. When Steel Bloom and Carfin gear stopped dropping,
Oh
I think
yeah.
that should have been a full wipe.
Well, I think they should have removed it. It's like, why just put the buff back in? I don't think they ever should have removed the buff. Just leave it in the game. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean
But
that too.
it just either way, like, again, this is why I treat testing the way testing should be treated because things like that happen. All right, guys. Well, what did you guys think about this episode? Let me know down in the comments. Are you a hardcore mid-maxter like Tango over here, or are you going to be a casual dad gamer playing 2 to 4 hours like myself? Let me know down in the comments, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, guys.